Welcome back, mathematicians. Let's talk about the real reason we're here is to actually graph e to the x, right? So there's a lot of fun things we could do with e to the x at calculus, right? So as soon as we get to the next class or two, we're gonna see more and more of this um, equation. But for right now, it's gonna be just kind of the simple parent function. It's kind of offspring, say. So let's take a look at some of these. For this one, if you would like to graph them separately, you might get a clearer view. You could graph uh, these two functions together. Okay, the first one is kind of what we would expect, right? Is we have a let's turn this one on. Is the first one we have is e to the negative x, right? So it's just going to reflect it over this y-axis. Okay. Next one, let's see. Next, we have e to the 2x, right? So you can see it does a couple strange things. One of them is that on the left side of my y-axis, it actually brings part of the graph down, right? So, and that makes sense, right? When you talk about numbers that are negative, you're actually making this into a fraction, right? So it's making into a smaller fraction because you have that 2x there instead of just the x. And then when it comes to the right side, we see that it actually, when it comes to the right side, the graph actually rises even faster, right? 2x, right? So we have, it expands even faster. Next, we have 5e to the x, right? So this time I'm putting the 5 in front, right? And if you guys would like to, next we have 5e to the x, right? So we are going to take this graph and take this graph and look at it. Try this one. We have 5e to the x, right? So this graph, we see that it starts to accelerate just a little bit faster, right? In fact, if we look at things like e to the 0 power, that would be 1. So instead of crossing over at 1 here, it crosses at 5. So everything is just kind of brought forward here a little bit. That's one way to look at it. Next, we have 1/3 e to the x, and this is kind of unexpected. It actually brings the graph maybe down the other direction. Maybe it is expected. Graph brings the graph down the other direction, but it's still. You notice the curve of this graph. If I zoom out a little bit, is kind of parallel, right? So these two graphs. Let me zoom in again. These two graphs are kind of opposite each other, right? They just sandwich the parent function right in between the two. Okay. And last, we kind of combine two of these guys, and it just mixes them together, right? 2e to the 2x. So this part up here, the exponent, kind of makes it rise really quickly, and the 2 in front makes this part go up a little bit more. Okay. So thanks for listening. So why don't you go ahead and try it right now? This is a sample graph. I have e to the negative 3x. Plot some points and see what it looks like for you. Okay, so go ahead and sketch that graph. Thanks. See you on the next video.